Welcome to the VarsityKansas.com Big Show. I'm Joanna Chadwick of the Wichita Eagle and VarsityKansas.com, and we're taping here at KSN. My guest today is Buhler football coach Steve Warner. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Steve Warner, first time on the show, but he's a long time watcher of the show. Am I right?
For sure. I watch it all the time.
That's good. All right. Well, I want to talk with Coach about the semifinals. Congratulations on beating Hayden to get into the semifinals. How exciting is this for you guys?
Oh, it's very exciting. You know, this is the third time in 6 years that we've been to this game, but it's still exciting. We've also lost in the quarterfinal round 3 times. So getting to the semifinals, 4 teams left. There's a lot of pride in our program and a lot of excitement in our community right now.
Well, did you expect that coming into this year, that you guys would be able to reach this point with the kids that you do have?
Without a doubt. We felt like all along we could be very good. You know, Riley Allen's a tremendous running back, and we have a lot of kids that have been very successful over the years. So we followed them all the way through. They were 5th graders when I came to Buhler, and they were very successful then. They were successful in middle school, so we knew this was a group of seniors that could be very, very good.
Well, you know, talk about that too, because talk about what you tried to do coming into Buhler when you came. What is it that you felt that you needed to change and to get to this point?
Well, number one thing we had to do was change the attitude and building that winning tradition. And it started with hard work in the weight room. It also started by going to a camp. We took 12 kids to Fort Hays State. And when we went to Fort Hays State, then it was just an attitude. The kids came back, those 12 kids that went, came back and said, "This is so much fun. These coaches are awesome." They were telling the other kids how much fun they had. And we just wanted to get kids to enjoy football. The very first game we had, we lost to Rose Hill. It was a 17-14 game for a little while. I think they beat us 34-14. Coach Coles, who came with me from Liberal, and both of us were just devastated because we got beat. And parents are coming up to us. They were so excited. This is the best we've seen our kids play. They played so hard. So I guess we took a little bit of positive from that. And then the very next week, we beat Wellington, who at that time was still a very dominant program. And for us to get that win, it got the kids to buy into everything that we wanted to do and everything that we were doing. And it's just been going up since then.
Talk a little bit about going into this semifinal game. You play host to Holton, who just beat Andale, and Andale beat you in the first game in district. So,
well,
how are you going to do this?
Holton's a great program and a great team. They have a great coach. Their community's behind them. They beat us the last time in the semifinal game, 42-7. So that's in the back of our mind. But the way we have to beat them is we have to have long, sustained drives on offense. We have to take care of the football. We can't have any turnovers, just like we did against Hayden. We have to run to the ball on defense, create some turnovers, and again, just the long, sustained drives. The second half against Topeka Hayden, we kept the ball out of their offense's hands. And a lot of that was because of some runs that Riley Allen had, but our offensive line took control. Holton is huge up front, like always, and that's going to be hard to have long, sustained drives with that. But, with that play action pass, a lot of things that we like to do anyway. So there's things that we feel like game plan wise we can do, but it's going to be the key to keeping the ball out of their offense's hands.
Talk about that offensive line, because it's an area where you guys have improved, and it's going to be huge on Friday night, isn't it?
Well, it really is, because they are so big and they're so physical that we know that our offensive line is going to have to play well. Nick Meitler's been our lineman of the year so far because he's graded out the highest each week with the Moose Man Award that we give out. But John Yates is a returning starter. John's had a great year for us. And Greg Thompson's our big tackle, a very physical player. So those guys have their work cut out for them. Jaden Abernathy is another player, and Davey Ducart. Chase Shantz is our tight end. So those guys know that they've got a big task ahead of them, but I know they're ready to be physical and play good football.
You mentioned Riley Allen, and he came into the year. He's a 2,000-yard guy last year. He did get injured during track season. He's such a speedy guy, but yet he was good to go for the season, and he kind of battled some injury during the year. How is he playing right now?
Right now, he's at his best. He is playing phenomenal football. Even at the first year, I didn't think it was the Riley Allen from his junior year. I don't know. I didn't put my finger on it. Then he got injured, and sitting out the 3 games that he sat out really made a difference. He came back, and he has run so hard, so physical. And, he is a speed guy, but he's now lowering his shoulders and getting that extra yards for us, or diving into the end zone from the 5-yard line with somebody right on his tail like he did against Topeka Hayden. Riley's playing great football, and the more he gets the ball, the better we're going to be.
All right, let's talk a little bit about something Coach has mentioned multiple times since that game against Andale. He said it soon after that game. You like this playoff system. You appreciate that the state association now takes 2 teams out of each district.
Well, I had several teams in Marysville that we were 8-1, and we didn't get to go to the playoffs. And so that would have been the exact same thing that happened this year. We would have been sitting at home. So 8-1 and still get a chance to go and play. I know there could be other systems and better systems, but I just really like what the state has done for the football in Kansas. It's made football more competitive. The stuff that we can do with the kids in the summer, using our equipment, just all the things that the state has tried to help. Adding the 2 teams, that was 12 years ago that they did that. And if I remember right, that was the year that we got beat by Wellington at Marysville, and they were a runner-up. So, I mean, we won our district that year, but it came back to haunt us that year. But it's fair that to have it. If we're going to go by location with how we do our district, then you have to have 2 teams, because they didn't know as we made district assignments this year for 2 years who's going to be good in 2 years. So I think that's made it fair. Are there better ways? Yes, but until we can come up with a great way to make a better playoff system, then I have to support the state and what they've done. They have really made a lot of changes and made it better for high school football in Kansas.
Well, and talk a little bit too about going into the playoffs with the seeding system, or the hosting system rather, because basketball has now gone to in the upper classes where the higher seed hosts all the way through. How do you feel about kind of the back and forth, the West and East?
Well, right now I think it's working out well. We had to travel all the way to Ulysses, which was a long trip. And then we turned around and go to Abilene, and now we're home for 2 games. So you look at it that way, that we did have to travel, that it's fair. But there has to be somewhere in there that the higher seeded team should be rewarded. Hopefully next year in 4A Division I, we can get the state to seed it. Because right now it's set up exactly like we have it today. But the reason that happened is because no one asked the state to go ahead and seed it. The state's only going to do what we ask. So the way that works is the Kansas Football Coaches Association in December, the 4A coaches will have to get together, go to all the coaches, and ask for the coaches to ask the state. So then what the coaches will do, will go to the Kansas Coaches Association. Then the Kansas Coaches Association will take it to the state. And that's the way, it's just the politics of it all, but we've done it to get all the changes that we have. That's the way it all started. It started in our meetings in December with the Kansas Football Coaches Association.
Well, I think that's what it needs to be. I mean, it needs to be seeded. There is no doubt in my mind. I just think that one of the most, the focus on geography, I get it, but for 2 unbelievable teams to meet on that Saturday because where you're located, or even the quarterfinal matchups that we've seen just because of where you're located, I just don't think it's fair. I think the seeding needs to happen.
Well, I agree. And the first round game against Ulysses, we win 14-7 against a very, very good football team. 2 8-1 teams playing in the first round, and then they don't get to go on. It's very difficult. So I agree with the seeding. And they've always said with 64 teams, there were too many to seed, and now we're down to 32. So I think it'll work out. We'll just have to, play the politics and do the right things to help it work.
I have a feeling that will happen. But now I want to talk to you about some of the best players that you've seen. When we talked a little bit beforehand, you mentioned specifically out at Ulysses.
Rudzik is a great running back. His brother's a great football player that played linebacker and guard also for him. Mason from Mulvane had a great game against us, and he just continued to roll all year long. And Holton was able to slow him down, but a great running back there. McGreevy from Topeka Hayden was the best linebacker we've seen this year. He's a junior and a phenomenal football player.
Now, real quickly, I want to talk with you about also, you've developed a relationship with West High coach Weston Schartz. Isn't it kind of interesting, football coaches, when you get a friend who's another coach, those tend to be lifelong type friends, aren't they? Maybe it's because you find someone who completely understands who you are.
Without a doubt. Coach Schartz and I started doing camps together. He ran the camp at Wichita Northwest, and we went to his camps, had a great time. And then he went to West, so we went to West with him, and we get along great. I'm a Wichita West fan. I want him to win every game that he's coaching in, and I pull him for them, and I know he's doing the same for us.
That's pretty cool. All right, well, Coach, thanks so much for being here, and good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's take a look back at some of the games last week, and it was Derby beating Manhattan. Derby really took control there. There was an early little scare there with Manhattan getting an early touchdown, but Derby just ran over them. They will play Garden City this week. Derby's playing the kind of football we all knew they could play, and they have done it over a sustained period of time. They have not lost since that season opener to Salina South. I think they get into the state championship, just like I am certainly not the only one to predict that we all thought that they would be able to do. Cape and Mount Carmel is going to be playing to get into that Class 5A championship game. They will play Salina South this week. They beat Salina Central. And, Capen's one of those teams that I think people have kind of overlooked a little bit, suggesting that their schedule's not very tough and so on. But their only loss was to Bishop Carroll. And they went into Salina Central, a team that is very physical, that plays in a ridiculously tough division of the AVCTL. And they were able to get that win. That's a really good win for that program. I'm glad to see it, but they got a tough matchup in Salina South. It was Salina South that ended Bishop Carroll's 23-game win streak. Carroll loses in the quarterfinals. And it was a really impressive game. It was one of the better games that I've seen. I mean, you know, Carroll had its chances. It had the 2-point conversion at the very end that was just about a half step out, and they called it no good there. It would have tied the game. They had other plays, though. I mean, the point after what would have tied the game at 14 hits the right corner of the – it's ridiculous. You watch that play. I mean, I can still see it in my head, and I'm sure that they can too. Then there was the 35-yard field goal attempt that sailed wide left. We're talking a game that was decided on mere inches. It was impressive, and it's a tough way for Carroll to lose, but Salina South is a formidable opponent, and Capon is going to have its hands full on Friday night. Also, we had Heights losing to Garden City. Heights had that game. They were playing really well, and they had a couple turnovers late that decided that, but Garden City with Grayson Temple, that kid is very talented, and Derby will have its hands full there, but I still think that defense is going to be able to take control there. In Andale, you know, we knew 1 versus 2, Holton and Andale was going to be very tough, and it was. And Andale just did not seem to be able to get its sort of game going that it needed to against Holton. But again, Holton, it's the defending champ for a reason. And Andale has no need to hang its head here. It's the same with Bishop Carroll. These teams, when they are playing that good of opponents in the quarterfinals, not everyone's going to win a state title. It's still an incredible season. All right, it was also Scott City beating Conway Springs, and this was another game where I really felt Conway Springs was going to win this one, but Conway Springs was not able to do what it usually does on offense. Credit Scott City with their defense being able to just shut them down and not allow the big runs that Conway Springs so often gets. When they don't have a 100-yard rusher, it's pretty shocking. So credit to Scott City there for that win. And Beloit beat Sedgwick. Sedgwick had a lead there in the first half, and then Beloit just came back. And I never use this phrase, but gangbusters, yeah, that was pretty much how it went. Beloit, very good team, is going to be playing Scott City for the semifinals there. 8-man 1 and 2 finals are this week for football as well. Make sure to check out our final 8-page high school football section in Saturday's Wichita Eagle. And I will also be chatting live this week at varsitykansas.com. I would be remiss, though, if I did not mention that today, Monday, is the first day for high school winter sports to start practice. So I'm assuming there are plenty of you who are up early this morning for your two-a-days. Good luck to you as you go through your school day and the rest of the week. It's going to be a busy one, but good luck to all of you who are now looking to try to win that elusive state title. So check out the Wichita Eagle and VarsityKansas.com for basketball previews. We started those on Sunday, and they will be running through the start of the season. Thanks so much for watching the VarsityKansas.com Big Show. I'm Joanna Chadwick. Enjoy your week.